I lived through multiple peak gaming eras, and every single one of them has permanently changed how gaming felt forever. First, Call of Duty dominated, then Fortnite took over, and now we're watching an era and form in real time as Arc Raiders kind of ascends to the top and just takes over everybody's life. I grew up in peak Call of Duty, and that's not nostalgia talking, I promise you. That's just reality, people. Let's look at it for a fact, okay? Modern Warfare 2 sold over 25 million copies, and anyone who was there knows exactly how it felt to be in that era. Like, playing those games at that time, it was just surreal, okay? We all know 2007 to 2012 was just an absolute peak masterclass in FPS, and we've never gone back since. Those are some of the best games ever, honestly. And the midnight launches at GameStop and the packed lobbies on day one in those games where it's like Arc is now, which is why I'm bringing this whole thing up. Peak gaming is what this feels like. But we all know after Black Ops 2, something changed. The focus slowly shifted away from pure gun skill in COD, and it, moved from map knowledge to skins and gun variants and monetization for the company. And the game stopped being about mastery and started being about maximizing profits and microtransactions. Microtransactions. That's when I drifted, okay? If I'm being honest. I branched out to games like Destiny, Little Big Planet, Battlefield, of course. Love me some Battlefield. Naruto, fighting games, Grand Theft Auto, Minecraft. And between 2012 and 2017, I genuinely broadened my horizon when it comes to games. And FPSs were like no longer my only game that I played. But I don't know why I did that. That was until Fortnite came out. In 2017, we all know what happened, okay? Battle Royale took over the world, and that feeling of just absolute peak and the feeling that you get as a gamer when a game has you, Fortnite nailed it for the time being. And yeah, being one of the last few players alive at the time in a Battle Royale, it was genuinely one of the best feelings ever. But Fortnite was so peak, and it had two different peaks. There was the original peak when it first came out. That was great. Everyone was playing it. It was so new and simple back then. It was like, it had this farmy feel to it. Everything was like kind of country-ish. Yeah, but the other peak I'll bring up later. But obviously the game was simple, goofy, and like I said, farmy. And I feel like that farmy charm mattered. Not really like the farminess specifically, but just like the overall, the goofiness of the game. It was really simple back then. It wasn't as complicated as it is today. It's evolved a lot, especially the building itself has had multiple eras. First it was the ramps, the cones, and then people started tunneling. Then you had protected ramps, and then suddenly Fortnite looked like it was just, if you played Fortnite and then you watched the competitive scene, you understood that there were just two completely different levels, and trying to get to one level, if you were average or even above average, like I consider myself to be, because I play with an advanced controller, it was still near impossible to get to some of the things that PC players are doing. Like I said, if you play Fortnite, you understand. If you haven't, you don't really get it, which is okay. And it just wasn't like any other game. You could always tell if you were playing against a PC player and you were on controller. But in shooters, they balance that gap more often, so you're not able to tell by having not as many mechanics that you can outplay another player with. Fortnite didn't, and somehow it just added to the spectacle that it was, though, which is what made it so special. At the time, players started craving something different. They wanted survival. They wanted accolades. They stopped caring about KDs and kill streaks, and it became more cool to be like, oh my god, look at this guy go, versus like, it's a team aspect, but when you're watching one person kill everybody, it's a bit more interesting. And yes, like I was saying earlier, the second peak for Fortnite was during COVID. I don't think a game has got so lucky when it comes to the timing of a disease taking over the world and literally invigorating its game with a whole new and the same audience that it had before. Some of the era's earliest live events where it was creators hosting tournaments, people I still watch to this day, Myth, Tifu, all those people, they were teaming up in Fortnite, which was great to see. Fortnite was a once-in-a-lifetime game in the sense of, it was peak. You're making content already, and a game like that comes out, it just puts you in a great position to take advantage of it. And the same thing is here with Arc Raiders. Arc Raiders hasn't even been out that long, and whether people want to admit it or not, it truly does represent something new, and not just because of the numbers. Yes, it has a concurrent player base averaging around 250 to 300,000 people, and has already sold, I'm pretty sure, like 12 million copies. The numbers aren't really important though, because what Embark has really nailed is the fact that Arc Raiders is an emotional roller coaster, and it all happens in a single match. The gunplay is incredible. I love the fighting in this game. The adrenaline spike that you get when you barely make the extraction feels insane. It's like peak Fortnite, and I can't even say I've ever felt this way about something in COD, but we all know Arc isn't perfect, even though I love it. Some players want faster updates, some players want tighter balancing on the guns, and then some players want more post-launch support and content in general. That criticism is fair, but the fact that Arc Raiders has most of the community not really that desperate for new content, I think speaks volumes to what they've done, and they're already satisfying people with the core experience. That's why I feel like this game is representing peak gaming, because Arc Raiders has you in highs and has you in a lot of lows. You know, some days you feel like you're on top of the world, and some days you feel like you're just not really able to put anything together, which is how you feel day to day sometimes in real life. But you know that if you go in there, you know, either with something or without something, there's a chance you could come out with some good stuff. It's really, like I mentioned earlier, a thing with the extractions and almost not making it out, and the Arc, not even to mention, are a great aspect of this game because they are just well trained, but they, you know, they're just good art in general, but they're good AI in general is what I'm trying to say. You don't see AI like this in games where they're so smart and they don't really have limitations, and that's what Arc has done well and Bark has done well. It doesn't feel like the Arc in this game are programmed to do anything. They're just there, and whatever you put in front of them is what they're going to react to. This game also just feels like peak because I can tell when a game has me captivated like this and it's everywhere, it's just everywhere. It's one of those moments right now in gaming where you want to be a part of the community that's playing this game, that's experiencing this game at the beginning of its infancy, because this is the simplest it's ever going to be most likely. So it's a special moment in gaming right now, and it's cool to experience, but this is what peak gaming feels like.